Welcome, viewers. Welcome to a special stream on teaching excellence, the wonderful technology developed by Kate Benson and Richard Bentler to help kids grow and learn, and to help teachers and other professionals who work with kids to help those kids learn and grow as well. So, first, let me invite Kate Benson herself. There she is. Hello, Kate.
Hello, hi.
Good to see you.
Good to see you, Joost. How are you?
I'm doing great. I'm streaming my ass off,
I see.
including this one.
Lots of exciting things.
Yes. Can you shortly, before we begin, can you shortly explain in a few sentences what teaching excellence is all about?
Oh, everybody always asks me that. Okay, so really simply, it's the application of NLP to teaching and learning. NLP is a learning model. It's an educational model. But for many years, it wasn't applied in that sense. And I think I came along and started to apply teaching NLP to the field of education, teaching, and learning. And it focuses on the experience of the learner, understanding how learning works and how that learner is learning, or that group of learners is learning. And so you maximize their potential for learning, their ability to learn in a very elegant way. So it's not about throwing everything you've got at a group. It's about finding, that precise point of intervention that makes for an elegant model. Is that enough?
Great, fantastic. So today we're going to have a roundtable discussion on teaching excellence with 4 of your students. Let's welcome them. We have from the Netherlands, Caroline ook wel in Dutch. There you are.
Hi.
Welcome.
It's nice to see you too.
Then we have from Australia,
No,
Orlando.
New Zealand. Don't
How's it going there in Belgium, Joost?
I'm not in Belgium. I'm
not from Australia.
You're from down under.
From New Zealand.
That's a province of Australia, right?
Yeah, like Belgium's part of France and is all owned by the Netherlands.
What?
Yeah.
Exactly, something like that.
And the Netherlands is a province of Germany, Orlando.
Most
Get the
certainly.
right wind up going.
We also have Simon. Hello, Simon.
Hi there, Juice. Hello, Kate. Hello, all.
Hi, Simon. How are you? How lovely to see you.
And of
Yeah, great
course,
to see
Tell
you.
all the teachers, look at our backdrops, look.
and of course,
We spend our time doing.
last but not least, Paul. Hello, Paul.
Wait,
Welcome.
who's only got a picture of his own books behind him, which just shows you his ego.
Oh, lovely to see you, Paul.
So, welcome all. For the audience, for all our viewers, if you have any questions, please put them in the chat. They will get answered by these experts, even prioritized above the questions I have or that Kate has. So far, there are no questions yet in the chat. So let me start with my first question. That is, okay, so you've done teaching excellence. Now my next question is, how did you apply teaching excellence in your work or in your life?
Joost,
Yes?
can I interrupt?
Yes?
I'm just thinking that all these people are sitting here and they're going like, well, who are they?
Yes. Oh, yeah. I forgot. We're going to do a very short introductory round. Please introduce yourself first and then explain how you use teaching excellence in your life and work.
I just think it might look like we just dragged 4 random people off the street otherwise. That would be lovely to hear why they're here.
So, Caroline, please go first.
Yes, I'm Caroline, living in the Netherlands. I've been teaching for 20 years. And during that time, I visited a lot of schools to teach. And the last 5 years, I got to be educated by Kate and it was really fun. And the last 5 years, I started a homework support in my house with beautiful variables, like 2 homework dogs. And I also practice NLP as a coach.
Thank you. Orlando.
Well, despite popular thought, my name's Orlando. I'm from New Zealand, not Australia. I'm an NLP coaching trainer and hypnotic practitioner. And a few years ago, while in New Zealand, I was traveling to Florida and learning directly from Dr. Richard Bandler. And there were certain names from around the world I began to hear regularly. And one of them was due to a book that had been released, and her name was Kate Benson. So I put her name on my list of people to seek around the world who exuded excellence. And a couple of years later, I had the opportunity to meet the mysterious Kate Benson. And I found the mystery was a lot more straightforward than I had imagined. And I then found out about Teaching Excellence, which I participated with Kate and a very fortunate group of others in 2018, I think it was. And that it absolutely opened up for me what is my NLP training and my NLP coaching business. It really opened a facet of the attitude of NLP to include not just curiosity and determination, but where the place of playfulness was, something that I wasn't too attuned to at the time. And with a bit of learning, I've learned to loosen up somewhat and play a lot more. And it's been phenomenally useful, Just.
Fantastic. Simon.
Okay, so my name's Simon Foster, and I'm based in Hampshire in the south of the UK, just above the Isle of Wight, where Kate is. I came across NLP in 2014, where I discussed it with my manager, and we'd always agreed if the opportunity came up, it was something that the college would pay for. And so I had a look around and saw all these different NLP courses, but there was only one course specializing in education and NLP, both the practitioner and the master practitioner. And that was the excellent course I went on. Kate, I did the reverse of what Orlando did, because I kept hearing a strange person called Richard Bandler I'd never met, and his name kept coming up all over the place. And I eventually went to do some of the training that Richard and John offer in Florida. I've just finished 3 years' work as a course manager for A-level economics in a further education college in the UK. And in that time, we've more than doubled the number of students studying economics at my college. And our results have gone from the bottom 20% in the country to the top 25% in the country.
Yay! Fantastic. Paul.
Hello, I'm Paul Barros, and I'm just a random person off the streets, to be honest with you. I'm here to make up the numbers.
As if.
But seriously, I've known Kate for very many years, and my brand is the Pitch Doctor, and I help people and companies to become more successful by improving the quality and impact of their communication. I'd done a lot of NLP training before, and I'd done sort of some stuff with Richard along the way, and Richard pointed me at Kate and said, if you want to move up and get better at training and teaching and learning every aspect of why NLP is so important in the teaching atmosphere, go to Kate. She's the best in the world. I went to Kate. We got to know each other over a couple of glasses of wine.
And a few more.
And then a few more. And I did the Teaching Excellence, which is really I've done loads and loads of NLP training over the years, and it is really one of the most superb. Why is it so superb? Is because Kate walks the walk, and it is just so much fun to do. And I completely agree with Orlando when he was saying the playfulness, because my background is in music and comedy. And one of the things you need to inspire anybody to learn is a playfulness. And so I completely adhere, and I'm a true devotee.
All right, thank you. We also have the first question from the audience. Please, when you're watching and either if you agree, disagree, if you have any remarks, any questions, please put them in the chat. So the first question is, do you think teaching in the format of one person on top of many students model at such a large scale is a mistake? So is a one-to-many teaching relation a mistake, if I can summarize it like that? Well, this is a question for everyone. So maybe, Kate, you want to kick off?
Well, I'm not quite sure I understand the question so as clearly as I'd like to. What I guess that they're saying is the format of having one teacher in front of a group a mistake or not? I suppose the answer to that is it could be. It probably depends on who that one person is in front of the group, to be honest. I think there's probably a lot of kids out there who would think the same thing. You know, one of the things is, and what's the definition of a person who keeps talking when nobody else is listening? The definition is that's a teacher, or some teachers. So yes, it could be, but it could also be an absolutely phenomenal asset. It's not about one teaching isn't about one person, throwing their pearls of wisdom out onto the swines that are out there. It's actually about engaging with each individual, and you can do that on a one-to-one, or you can do that with 100 or 200 or 1,000 people. And four. So, but the strategy is different. So it can be a mistake, but it could also be a huge asset. And the answer is, how does that one person in the audience, because you never teach a group, you teach a whole load of individuals. They're individuals in the room. So you can never treat your audience, whether it's Paul doing a massive presentation in Cannes, or Caroline with her 4 home group students on a Tuesday afternoon. But you can't treat them as a group. You have to know that those people are each individuals with needs, and that is the joy of NLP, because it enables you on a one-person basis to reach the brains of each of those individuals out there. So that's my answer, but I'd love to hear what the other guys think.
Yes.
I do agree that it really depends on the person who's sitting right in front of the class, and what that teacher is aiming at. Do I make myself clear and tell them everything I know, or do I really engage? I think that's the most fun of the teaching excellence experience I've had. It's a catalyst for you as a teacher to become even more curious of what you can do in a classroom, and how you can engage the kids, and how you can cooperate with them instead of just sitting in front of the class trying to control the whole deal. You see a lot of
that word cooperate, Caroline. I love that.
Yeah.
Anyone else?
Well, I think it comes down to exactly what Kate said, but in the sense of it's the skill set of the person who is standing in front of these people. By the way, you can be a bad teacher to one person, or you can be a great teacher to 2,000 people. So it's all down to, we go back to the Richard statement about the meaning of your communication is the response you get. Are you listening to the people in front of you? Are you communicating on the level that they need to be communicated with? So one of the great things about teaching excellence is that it gives you more skills in order to listen properly, and then gives you even more skills in order to actually touch those individuals in a group in the way that they need to be connected with. So I really think the question isn't about the system per se. It's about how we train the people to work across all systems.
All right, thank you. Anyone else?
Yeah, I'll come in on that. I felt the skills that I'd learnt in teaching excellence, that my toolbox was definitely expanded exponentially, I would say. And I was a lot more confident in trying different things. And I'll give an example with a quick story. On a Friday afternoon, we have what's called the graveyard shift sometimes in economics teaching after lunch, where you think, how am I going to motivate the students? And the longer the year goes on, the more tired the students seem to be. So we were doing revision sessions, and I thought, well, how am I going to approach this differently? Now, I'm a big fan of flipping the classroom, putting the students in charge of their own learning. And so using what I'd learned on Teach Excellence, and some people will recognize what I've done here, I said, right, on the Friday afternoon, we're all going to create the revision materials. One lot's going to go over there and make their own posters with the glitter and the glue and have an absolute field day. One lot's going to jump onto the PowerPoints on my computer and make their own presentation and have a great time. One lot is going to create a nice little A4 handout, double-sided, with anything they like on it to revise. Another lot are going to sit and have a chat and record what they do, maybe into a podcast and create their own revision materials. And that worked absolutely fantastically. And then NLP also gives you the tools to say what happens when it goes wrong, because it will go wrong if you set it up that way. 3 of the groups work perfectly, and the audio group will just sit there and chat with one another and not actually finish the task unless you go in and supervise them. But NLP like that enables you to flip the classroom and get some really good learning out. And I've given training videos on that to my old college, and we spread that out across my last college, saying this is how you solve the Friday afternoon graveyard shift, and it worked brilliantly.
All right, thank you. Orlando, anything to add?
I think it's been very well covered. To me, it's the strategy component, as Simon was just beautifully giving an example of, having the toolkit of NLP, and then having specific examples of how you can put that into place, whether it's in a live classroom with children, with adults, or even on screen with meetings like this, or I do a lot of work on Zoom. The work that I've done on myself following what I've learned from Kate, I have instigated into the way that I set up exercises, so that not everyone has to do it the same way. As Simon was just explaining, there might be 2 or 3 different groups in pairs going into a breakout room, and there's more than one way they can do the exercise and still get the result. And that flexibility that Simon was talking about, from a trainer, from a teacher's perspective, I presuppose from a teacher's perspective, from a trainer's perspective, it's so nice having those choices and being able to demonstrate the flexibility that I'm trying to install in those students. So yeah, the strategy.
All right, thank you very much. There has next question has not yet come up in the chat. So again, if you have a question, if it's on your mind, please ask the question. Many other people have the same question on their mind. Please put them in the chat.
Remember, there's only one dumb question, and that's the one you don't ask.
Oh, I said that Joost is going to ask.
No, you don't. I don't.
Okay. So I have a smart question and a dumb question. Which do you prefer?
Dumb.
The dumb question. Okay, the dumb question is.
The dumb question is the one you don't ask. There's no such
thing as
dumb question.
But the dumb question, a little bit dumb question is, Orlando was already explaining that Teaching Excellence is not only a very good program for teachers, but also for trainers. Can you explain a little bit more about how Teaching Excellence helps trainers deliver better programs?
Well, absolutely, I'd love to. And the answer for me is really simple. I came to the UK seeking people that were excellent in their field, and Kate was one of them. One of the biggest points that I took from the course was, I was sitting in front of Kate as an NLP trainer, so I knew a lot of things, so I thought. it is impossible to replace with a quick conversation somebody that has 3 decades of successful experience, and they demonstrate it in front of you. And as a student, you don't just get the benefit of the learning and content, you get a glimpse into how Kate's doing what she's doing. And of course, it begs the question at the end of every day, I'd walk away thinking to myself, and what didn't I notice yet? Why the list of questions, I think day 3, Kate said to me, could you keep those other questions for another day? Honestly, it was like having my mind just cracked open, and a flood of questions came because I think it was Paul that mentioned seeing somebody that they're not just talking about it, they're actually delivering and walking the talk. It promotes quality questions on, well, when I'm with a group of adults, I would start a lot of my questions with Kate with, when I'm working with adults, they do da-di-da-di-da. And I found myself after the Teaching Excellence course using the phrase children of all ages up to 96, because 96 is the eldest client I've ever worked with. And there's a part and parcel of, by adding that usefulness of playfulness, and I mean, serious play with a purpose, but not serious play, adding that playfulness in creates a regression of all ages to a form of childhood where many of us did our most powerful learning, and hooking that into finding a positive state in that childhood area. Suddenly you've got an adult that's operating from a place of highly efficient learning and pleasure, and with a little drizzle of hypnosis to help the medicine go down, the learning is just exponential. And as a trainer, it became a lot more fun. Like as Richard Bandler talks about, NLP is an attitude, it should be fun. If it's not fun, you're doing it wrong. Kate's example and my experience of that has taken my ability to train to a new level. It really has. And that's in a corporate boardroom or in a class of students. In fact, quite often the corporate boardroom needs it more than the kids do.
I completely agree, Orlando. The idea that, I mean, I work a lot in corporate boardrooms and with CEOs around the world and everything. What age do you think people actually grow up? As far as I'm concerned, I've taught sort of 16-year-olds who are much more sophisticated in their thinking than CEOs who I've taught. So the idea that one thing can't lead on to next, this is just purely teaching excellence is information about how to get your message across, how to get things to stick, how to have the right attitude to do that. And that crosses all age barriers as far as I'm concerned. I really don't see an age barrier in how that works. I get when Orlando's saying, you can anchor people back into some of the learning states of childhood. I think that's really valid and very useful. But the idea that suddenly people are mature and therefore, if anything, it becomes harder to teach people the older they get. So these skill sets that teaching excellence offers are even more valuable later on.
I absolutely agree with Paul on that. I think if I can add something there, I think... Sorry, Paul, have you finished what you were saying?
Yes.
No. I got so enthusiastic about what you were saying. I think one of the things is that one of the most difficult groups to do fun things with is actually quite often teenagers, because they're very worried about their image and how they look and stuff. So they're the trickiest group to get to be playful. Sometimes that doesn't mean you can't do it. You can do it, absolutely, but they can be, because they're so busy trying on their grown-upness that they, Simon will know this, they've got super cool, they start in September, they've got their new image and their new hair and their new clothes and stuff, and they've got to sort of, and it's not very well fixed yet, so they've got to work hard at keeping their new grown-up persona going. And if you get them to regress to being 6, then it all blows apart a bit too quickly, and they worry about that. But when they realize that actually when you regress to 6, it's fine, and actually nothing bad happens, and actually you can have more fun, then they're more likely to do it. And one of the things I would say about the whole thing about having fun, people think I'm lovely because I like people to have fun, but Joost will tell you that that's absolutely not true. He's the lovely person and I'm quite as hard as nails. The reason that I like people to have fun is because it makes it easier for them to learn. It makes my job and every other teacher's job easier, because when we get people into that, because in terms of NLP, it's about creating a state of receptivity for learning, which requires all the neurochemicals to be working and lining up in the right direction, so that you've got your endorphins and serotonin and oxytocin, and it's all working in your favor to get the learning to be memorable, because and so you remember it for a lot, for as long as you need to, probably forever. So for me, it's actually just a really practical strategy. It also makes my life and everybody else's life easier. So I think that whole is the underpinning strategy for getting people to learn, is to get that state, that neurochemical state operating. So I just wanted to add a little gravitas to the situation, so that the students the people who are listening don't think that we just sit around having fun all day for the sake of it, although I know we do that. But there is a purpose behind it. And I mean, I don't know, Simon and Caroline, I picked these people because they represent really all those different facets of teaching excellence. So we've got people like Caroline who are working with school age young people, and Simon who's working with that slightly older group, and then Orlando and Paul who work with adults. Paul is a parent. So we've got all those people represented there in terms of their abilities. And I think Joost was the first NLP trainer who said this needs to be applied, teaching excellence needs to be applied to training and trainers just as much as it does to teaching and teachers.
Can I come in there?
Yes, you can.
So one of the things I found has worked great as a strategy is when I'd done my NLP training, my old college appointed me as their NLP champion, and I was taking what I'd learned and giving small training sessions and tips. An example is, and if you ever have any dyslexia students, the colour spelling strategy is absolutely amazing. I cannot recommend it enough. I keep on using it. It's absolutely brilliant. And that you can find Kate's book, and I'm sure Kate will be covering that on the course. And then as a result of doing that, my next college, I found the vice principal just happened to be a master NLP, licensed master NLP practitioner. So as soon as I came in, he was like, right, I'm going to make great use of you. And then the next thing, I've got a marvelous opportunity coming up because I've got a college now, a really outstanding FE college I'm heading to, with 4,000 students in, and I'm going to be the only NLP practitioner of any kind there. And Kate, we may need to chat because this cake is rather big and I may need some help on this one, and I recognise that. As a result of doing all that, when I'm offering my skills to colleges saying, look, I'm not just practicing in the classroom, I'm helping train up. They say, well, what would you like in return? And that's where I go straight to the CPD budget and say, I would like to go on this form of NLP training or some of the other programs that John Laval and Richard Bandler run. And so I'm using my work to finance my own further development as well within education. And that's working for everybody. That's a lovely strategy to use.
Brilliant. Fantastic.
So let me add a question from the audience. How does Kate market her teachings? Is the purpose of this chatting to get the word out? Where do we go to learn more, please?
badly is is the answer. I have to say that Yoast does a much better job of marketing my work than I do. I'm really not one of those people who puts it out there that well. And one of my concerns about doing this, and I think this might be from the question, one of my concerns about doing this, and I said to everybody who I invited to participate, was I just don't want it to be some sort of teaching excellence fest where everybody just says how wonderful it all is and how life's, what I really wanted was people to be able to say what were the specific things that made their life easier, or was, what the challenges were and what they learned and all of that stuff. Where you go to learn more is, if you want, the first thing, or I'll do a quick club. The first thing I would suggest, if you haven't got it already, is to buy Teaching Excellence. And because a lot of the stuff's in there. Oh yes, look, everybody's got their copy. That's good to see. Even though Paul's promoting his book there, I'm glad to see you've got your copy. Because a lot of the things are in there, and that's a cheap and cheerful way of finding out a lot about the work that I do. And I run Teaching Excellence. Do a good practitioner with Yoast or whoever. Get a good practitioner. I don't do practitioners very often these days. I tend to concentrate on the Teaching Excellence side. So I'm happy to recommend Orlando and Yoast and anybody else who's a good Society of NLP trainer. And I then run Teaching Excellence programs once people have got a degree of qualification around the world. And quite often people just put a group together and I turn up. That's my favorite sort of training, by the way. So often the range of programs that you could do, if you haven't done any NLP, if you're a teacher and you haven't done any NLP, then the NLP Cert Ed is a good place to start, which is like you don't have to do anything. Simon is one of the students who did all of his journey, sort of beginning of his journey with me, and then he ended up did everything. So he first came on the NLP.
I didn't pay for everything.
No, you did very well on that score. That was the whole purpose of it. I remember writing all sorts of letters so that Simon could get his college to pay for him. But the NLP Cert Ed was designed as half a practitioner program, which just really encompasses all the bits that are the application in the classroom bit, the bit that gets you going quickly and easily. And it's also a really good convincer for your managers if people want other people to pay for them, because they see the change fairly immediately. And then we sort of convert those skills into a more generic NLP practitioner on the second module. So that's a good place to start. If you've already got a practitioner and a master practitioner, you're already working with Yoast, then I'm coming to the Netherlands in October.
As a follow-up question, sorry to cut you short, but we get these two questions, but there's an interesting follow-up question. More and more colleges are offering a full semester course in 4.5 to 10 hours a day over spring break. Is NLP taught like this to Masters of Education students?
No, it's not, as far as I know. I wish it was. And that's a perfectly good length of time to do ever such a lot of NLP and really get Teaching Excellence embedded. But the amount of NLP that is taught in the universities on teaching courses is still very small for the most part. There are a few places. Yoast is doing some great work in universities, and it might hopefully one day filter into their education departments out of the psychology department at the moment, Yoast?
No, not even that. It is in the MBA, the business administration.
Yeah. You see,
and economy. Because
so maybe one day they'll start to filter it in. There's usually a bit of a module in terms of the communications or the psychology of learning bit on the Master of Education or postgrad courses for teaching, but they're not taught that way, and I wish they were.
All right, then another question. I'll just skip ahead because we want to make sure that everything is answered as soon as possible. This is a question. What are good strategies for adding more humor in a way that regarding teens will be fully engaged with versus too silly or whatever, following on from what Kate said before?
Well, I don't want to hog this. I think everybody in the group will have had some strategies, and Paul is the master of humorology. So maybe Paul could give us something. I might learn something about his strategies here.
Well, thank you very much. But really, I think the number one strategy for humor is actually listening. And the more you listen, the more, and this sounds a strange thing to do, but humor isn't about telling a joke. It's about interacting with somebody. It's about understanding the fun fundamentals. It's putting the fun into fundamentals, actually. So you actually understand you need to listen first. And if you think about any time that you have been in a good humorous place or seen somebody and you model somebody who is funny, what they are really doing is they are listening intently and then they are reacting to what has been said, and they may be changing the structure of the words or the meaning of the words. But what it entails is making sure that you have properly connected with everybody and properly listened. Now, if you're a trainer or a teacher, how many of us have seen teachers who look over the tops of the heads of the class and talk at the back wall? And, you know, and talk about dates and what happened and everything. Well, that's where you will lose the humor. The humor happens when somebody in the class, and you know how kids are. Kids will say something because they think they're funny. Now, either you can be the kind of teacher or the kind of trainer who just goes, shut up, get out. Or you can be much smarter than that. And if they've said something funny, you will use that. You will incorporate it, because then they will suddenly say, Miss Benson's really fun to have as a teacher because she lets us play. And it goes back to what Orlando and Simon were saying about playfulness. I think that one of the most important things you can do, and I know Richard does this and Kate does this, is tease an audience. And that's what we're talking about, playfulness. Now, it doesn't mean you have to be outrageously funny and do cracking jokes. It's about the playfulness we were talking about. And that starts with listening. You listen to what's happening and then you react off it. And then you're involved in it rather than being distant as a teacher. So that's my 2 penneth worth of humor, but I could talk about that for hours.
Of course you could. We should recommend Paul's book.
My podcast's rather good, the Humorology podcast, if anybody
I would like
wants
to add something,
yes, absolutely.
if I may.
I think that's absolutely right what Paul's saying, and I think chiding. People who work with me will see that I tease gently, and it's never got to be about sarcasm. It's never got to be about hurting somebody's feelings. It's always got to be about just finding that little bit of funny feeling. The first thing is to feel the giggle, I think, as well. You know, it's like you've got to feel the giggle in a situation when you go in. If you don't feel the giggle, you go in thinking it's going to be terrible. It will. So go in with a giggle, and it will be funny because you bring the giggle with you. And then that just comes out as you're listening to the person, that you're picking up on what they're saying. And, one of the easy ways, if somebody gets it, one of the problems with learning is that there's always this point where you get a negative state with learning. It's almost inevitable, because in order to learn something new, you have to recognize you don't know it. And that's not always a great feeling. It's a bit of a feeling. It's like, oh, I don't know that. I can't do that. Now, the quicker you get to the state of curiosity, oh, maybe I could learn something new, or wonder, or tenacity, or some other state that's going to get you into the learning. One of the ways to relax out of that feeling is through a bit of chiding, a bit of teasing, a little bit of humor. And so the person relaxes. And both Richard and I use chiding a lot. And which is a little bit different from cheesing, because it sort of chiding nudges people. It nudges them along into the right direction. So I think that's how, one of the ways you do it without, as you said, it's quite important for it not to be silly. Oh, wait, well, no, actually, that's not true. Silly's great as well.
Well, and I would add to that that you
purpose.
Yeah, I would add to that you know, if you want anybody to go into any state, you need to go into that state first. So, you know, that's very important. You've got to, the audience have to feel that you are there. And when you're chiding or you're playing, you are in that state. It's very hard to do it from a bad state and a bad attitude.
Caroline, you want to add something?
Well, that's what I wanted to add, especially when you're teaching children from 12 to 16. You might feel as a teacher, is this too silly, or is it? No, it's not. When you feel inside your body who you are as a teacher, what you would like to, what your outcome is to have a nice class with engaging people and lots of fun. It starts with you as being the teacher and seeing on your timeline what is going to happen during the teaching. I have multiple magical wands, and usually at the beginning of an important test, I went as a little butterfly through the classroom. And everybody was laughing. Well, that's a great state to start your test. But I do want to add to that during the years I was teaching at the same school, there were many boys, especially boys, that would come to me during their break time asking me, Miss Knights, I have a test now. Could you please use the magical... I had a Harry Potter one. You know that one, Kate?
Yeah. Boys one, special boy, male ones are very important. Very sparkly ones.
Yeah, and
appropriate.
To be honest, I didn't care if students laughed. I had fun, and I knew that what I felt was spreading across the classroom.
So I think that's perfect. And I know Caroline's been collecting ones for many years and will be open to any further donations for ones if you wish to send them in her direction. Somebody's just put, it sounds like entertainment. Well, we call it, it's entertainment or edutainment. It depends on how you look at it. We have to bring those things in together for people to want to stay. People do, whenever they're doing anything, they do a cost-benefit analysis as they're doing something. So always in the back of somebody's mind, it's, am I better off here doing this? And this is what Simon was talking about the graveyard slot. Am I better off in this class at 2:00 on a Friday afternoon? Or am I better off skiving off and going down the shops or to McDonald's or something? Or maybe just having a snooze at the back of the class. It's a cost-benefit analysis. So you have to keep that edutainment going in order to keep the engagement, so that, because people are motivated by two things. They're motivated either by the outcome, what they're going to get from it, their A-level economics or their A-level politics or whatever it is, or they're motivated by the process of enjoying learning. Now, the best sort of learning clearly is where those two come together and you're motivated by both the process and the outcome. You can still get people to learn with one or the other, but if you motivate people just for the outcome, then that's the teacher who says, like, I don't care whether or not you enjoy this process, I'm going to drag you kicking and screaming to the exam room, and you will learn this stuff and you will remember, and then maybe they will, so it for a long time, some teachers use that strategy very well. But if we can also say, we want to drag you, instead of dragging you, we want to joyfully travel with you to that point, then that's a much better place to be.
All right. Thank you very much.
And the dog agrees.
Let me give
the dog agrees. Can I?
So I'm going to ask a.
Sorry, I was going to come in, Juice.
Yeah, too late.
Okay, fine.
Because I'm watching the time as well, and I still want to ask a critical question. First, to you four guests, where do you feel that teaching excellence can be improved? Where do you feel that you can? Well, if we put the question to Kate later on, how can Kate even make teaching excellence better? Where is it lacking? How can we improve things?
Let's start with Simon then. So you cut him off.
Okay.
Then you
I think, and that's. Yeah, you're going to like this, Kate, because there's a business opportunity here for you, I think. I think you could do a follow-up course, Kate, and you could do a follow-up course of where practitioners and people who have attended have got to. It doesn't need to be in person. It would be very easy to organise that digitally, and it doesn't need to be very long either. But I think those of us who are graduates and we've kept in contact, one of the brilliant things is you are going on the Teach Excellent course. You meet up with a whole group of teachers and educators and trainers, and we all stayed in contact with one another and have helped one another and given each other tips and what have you. I think a follow-up course, Kate, of only an hour or two online where we all got together and reflected where we were 5 years down the line, that was something I can see very high returns for with not actually too much effort to organise. That would be my recommendation.
All right, thank you. Now there's dead silence. Orlando, Caroline, Paul, anything that can improve on teaching excellence? Where did you go?
Remember, it's never done. It's never done, guys. We're always moving that direction. That's how I punished Joost that way.
Well, by the way, I'm going to say one thing, which is nothing to do. I think it is a brilliant course, and I know we're not supposed to be on here just to sort of blow smoke. But if there anything could be improved is actually getting the word out there and the PR angle of it. So because more people need to understand how good it is and how much difference it can make. And how much difference it can not just make, because I think the bit that we haven't discussed yet, and maybe I'm sort of like trying to sandwich this into the middle of something that we haven't discussed, is this is not just for your teaching at work. This is not just if you're training people or you're teaching people. It's also if you've got, I have a son who Kate very, very kindly came and helped, because at 15 years old, he was suddenly diagnosed with dyslexia, which was a bit of a shock because he was about to take the biggest exams of his life, which were going to have an impact on where he got into. I mean, he had a sixth form of his dreams that he wanted to get into, which needed very high levels to get in there. And I know a lot of this stuff, but Kate taught him things and changed the way he thought about things exquisitely. His whole belief systems changed. Now, sometimes as a parent, it's difficult to do that without the knowledge. You want the best for your children, but even if you had the knowledge, sometimes it's difficult to get across to a teenager. But suddenly his belief system changed after talking with Kate, and he started to learn exquisitely, effortlessly and easily because Kate instilled that into him. Now, having worked with Kate, I was able to back up what she said and keep it going, if you like. But the learning is so important, because even if you haven't got children of your own, you will have family who have got children. You will have, by the way, not just children, like we said before, there will be adults who will need this stuff. Things that will make an ultimate difference to people. So I go back to it. I just think it's so useful that what we need from all you people watching is to get the word out there, and that's what I think that could be improved.
All right, Caroline, you were about to say something.
Yeah, to me personally, it's fine like this, because I'm still not, there's still so many things that, as I told you, to me, it works like a catalyst. It doesn't stop. And it's up to you as a teacher or a coach or whatever to keep expanding even your own creativity to, well, get better and better and better. I don't think that, to me, it's okay like this, the teaching excellence. It's up to you as a teacher to, it's difficult for me in English. I was even a little bit nervous.
You can talk Dutch, I'll translate it.
Just to expand more and more. I can do things with this course for the next 30 years. It doesn't stop after doing the course.
Good. Thank you. Orlando, anything? Yes.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense to me. It's called generative learning, Caroline.
Yeah.
Orlando, anything you're missing?
Just to reiterate everyone's points, it's I believe, and I think from a fair bit of time I've spent talking to Kate, that what teaching excellence is and even how she teaches it has evolved with each and every time she's engaged with another group of learners. Kate's work will continue to evolve for a long time in the future, as long as it is being taught and as long as it's being shared. And I agree with everyone's points. The more it's shared, the faster that potential for growth and learning and width of learning, breadth of learning will skyrocket. I mean, after working with Kate, I walked into a pub and met Lucy the unicorn, and within 30 minutes and 2 pints of beer, taught an 8-year-old child to spell. By pint number 4, her dad was now buying the pints, which was wonderful. There's papers everywhere. She was kneeling on a bar stool and she elicited from her father how he had blue letters on a blue background, and that's wrong, Daddy, make it white. And now he couldn't do dyslexia properly. And I'm 4 pints in going, this is just, that Richard talks about, Kate talks about, trust the technology. The level of this technology is phenomenal for those that know it exists. And as that learning spreads out further, to me, it's exciting where what teaching excellence will be in 5, 10, 15, 20 years' time, if it's out there being shared. Because if it's not shared, it'll stay exactly the same. And I think that would be terrible. I think that would be an awful thing. Even though it's wonderful already, it could be wonderfuler. There you go.
All right. Let me put the question to... Yeah, I wanted to put the question to you. Kate, do you feel that there are, content-wise areas that teaching excellence can be improved or built on?
Yeah, always. That one of the things that you said to me, Joost, that you were very cross with me about, that you've been very content with your training programs until you did teaching excellence, and then you just found this thing inside you that was always striving to get better. Now, if I didn't have that, I couldn't put that in you or anybody else. So yes, absolutely. I think that the things that I'm going to list the things I think that are going to happen in the next year or two, and hopefully they'll get they'll mirror some of the things that you've been talking to. Orlando has been pushing me very hard. Thank you very much, Orlando, to move forward with a new website, which you'll all hear about it sometimes, which will provide a forum, as exactly as Simon's saying, for people to connect in, whether they haven't done anything at all or they are graduates. And the graduates will get, you will become members or fellows of this teaching excellence organization, if you like, which you'll hear about very soon. So we're building that at the moment. And so that's going to sort of pick people up at the beginning and also carry the journey on, so that we've got this generative process. I think also that this lockdown and the advent of Zoom and all these new technologies here. What's this one called? Melon. It's like the fruit everywhere, isn't there?
Nobody who's viewing knows this is Melon. This is called Twitch.
So whatever it is, Twitch. Is it Twitch?
It's Twitch.
They think it's Twitch. Okay, so
we're on Twitch.
Technologies. So we've got Google Meet and all these other ones going on. So I think that the fact that we've been teaching. Simon talked about flipping classrooms where the learners are in charge or they think they're in charge. Never quite in charge, but they think they are. And use of technology, blended learning, where we're using technology and we're using a classroom situation. There isn't a great reason why 30 kids need to be in a classroom all day. We learned that this year. I knew that already, and you probably did, but a lot of people learned that. But again, some of that was done very badly. Some of it was done very well. So if we're using these different technologies, how do we apply teaching excellence and NLP to this technology? I don't know about you, but I've sat through some hideously boring training sessions and not very many good ones. So people are starting to ask the question, how do we promote engagement? Orlando's been really good at this, finding ways, you can do polls and quizzes and breakout groups and small group discussions, and you could do a lot of the things you can do in a classroom, but we're not really utilizing this. We're still exploring that. I think that needs to be on the agenda. So whereas in the past we were making podcasts and vodcasts to take out of the classroom, I think this will replace that module on teaching excellence. And lastly, which I hope some of you will be pleased about as well, I'm looking to how do we move teaching excellence so that we're training those at the top of teaching excellence, such as the people who are here today, to deliver teaching excellence. So far, I have been for years and years the only person licensed to do this. So, and I'm knocking on now, guys. So I don't want to be out
mid-30s. I hear.
I know, Paul.
Mid-30s. That's what I heard.
Retire early, And so I really like some of my students to be moving this stuff forward, and that, of course, is the way that we do exactly what Paul was saying to get it out there. Because there's lots of people are already doing stuff. Simon's doing some stuff. Lots of other students are doing their own training programs, but let's sort of formalize this so that they get to use that label too as be part of the Teaching Excellent graduate program. So that's what I think.
All right, thank you. Well, dear audience, viewers, one small remark. If you're boring on Twitch, you're not going to get any viewers. Twitch is very merciless when it comes to boring people. Lots of streamers complain about 0 viewers. And we had quite a number of viewers today. I'll share the numbers with you later on. So this is the final opportunity. Huh?
I just was wondering if we were just talking to ourselves.
No. There have been lots of people.
Idea, do you, in this room? Yes. There's no stream you can see. So.
Yes. So Dr. Ben Mack says you're all amazingly fun. Thank you.
That's nice. Thank you.
But this is the last opportunity to ask questions if you're viewing this or if you're in the audience. So please let me know. Often everyone rushes at the very last moment to put in their questions. There's a remark. I'm in, Kate. Can't wait to do the training in October and hit it off afterwards.
Lovely. Well done. Thank you.
Yes.
Look forward to meeting you.
So while we wait for to see if there are any last minute remark or question, let me thank Paul, Simon, Orlando, and Caroline for sharing their stories and their insights and their time with us. And let me also thank Kate for being a good sport to actually agree to all my new weird ideas of how to present yourself in this new digital world.
Well, thank you, Joost. I want to say thank you to you guys. I mean, I didn't even ask these people till earlier on this week, and they all gave up their time willingly. So I really appreciate that, and it's lovely to see you all. And thank you for inviting me, Joost. It's I always like some. You're always really good at introducing new things, which keeps me very happy.
Joost, can I leave with one last quick story?
Sure.
Okay, so last year I had my A-level students go into lockdown, and they were all like, the ones doing their final A-levels like, well, the course is over. What are we going to do? And so again, I flipped the classroom and I said, right, let's do a review of the teaching materials and the students to write teaching materials for next year. So they had something with their name on it, use it for UCAS references for applying to universities, and keep up their knowledge of economics. And I said, if you do more than 15 hours on this, I'll give you a reference. And they said, yeah, that sounds great. I said, if you do more than 25 hours of this, I'll give you a certificate. And they said, fantastic. And I had one student who came along and quickly got her bronze certificate for 25 hours, her silver certificate for 50 hours. But I kid you not, this student did for me 100 hours of voluntary work writing my teaching materials for next year because she was stuck in lockdown, nothing else to do, and going to do an economics degree. And so I've given her a lovely gold certificate. And, my teaching materials were writing themselves at that point. The teaching excellent course techniques are very, very powerful. And when you get it right like that, it just goes off into the set. Absolutely brilliant.
All right. Thank you very much, Simon.
Teaching excellence for lazy teachers.
Any last words from Paul, Orlando, or Caroline?
But it works. It works. It works.
That's
This has been great.
100% right. It does work. And the reason it works is because it's brilliant technology, brilliantly explained, and it's simple. And it's all about state change, and it's all about play. So actually incorporate it in your learning and teaching, and you will fly.
All right.
Absolutely brilliant. Thank you, Just, for putting today on. To me, I do have a question in the back of my mind, not being one myself, but getting asked the question a lot. I would like to put forward as an idea doing something similar to this again for parents. Specifically targeting at parents. What can all these teaching excellence, NLP, master, super, uber, duper practitioner people out there in the world, what tips, what hints, what practical ideas can they give to parents to give them a helping hand? I'm not a parent myself. I'm quite happy in dog parenthood through my life, but no, look, it's a very common question that I get asked because I'm working with the parents, and often they're saying, how do I sort my child out? And my first answer is, well, you don't. They don't need sorting. They're not a pack of cards. But I think something like this just would be very well received. And if you were secure, Kate, and a few other people that have done the training and are parents, I think Paul's comments today and his experience with his son, I think that's hugely valuable to a lot of parents out there. That glimmer of hope is priceless.
Yeah. All right, I'm going to analyze the numbers, look at the viewers, calculate all the back office revenue, and see if it's worth my time.
The probability is there's very few trainers in the world that would be able to host this and pull it off, and I don't know anyone that could do it. Maybe you, Just, maybe.
It sounds as if you've done a course with my teachings being thrown back at me.
I'm going to go further. I bet he could do it. I've not worked out the odds yet, but I bet he could do it.
Caroline, Paul, any last words?
Well, I'm doing some videos for parents this year.
There you go. I don't have
really
to do anything.
Too busy, but with the homework support, I listen to what the children say, and it's always, no, I don't want mom or dad to rehearse this with me, because one thing I say one thing wrong, and then they say, you haven't studied enough. We can do that, of course, a lot differently.
Yes.
And so I picked up the idea to make some videos, especially for the parents.
See, Orlando, I don't have to do anything. Caroline's going to do it.
Yeah.
Let's teach excellence at work.
Yeah, I think Caroline's just brought herself into the next one anyway, and I have seen some of Caroline's videos. They are lovely. So I definitely recommend them to parents.
Well, there wasn't any time because I have 3 companies now.
Oh, well, you see, onwards and upwards.
Paul.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, I actually think that's a tremendous idea, I think even if you haven't got children, just actually you will have friends with children. I get asked all the time to help with children, and what I learned on Teaching Excellence has aided that so much. My goddaughter, for instance, had some issues, and her parents were one of them had been a teacher, and one of them was a head teacher. And they still came to me because we all need some help. So every parent in the world will need some help at some stage. And those of us who are parents will know that sometimes you don't have all the facility to do it. So you can always learn more. And Teaching Excellence is the most excellent place to learn more now.
Well, Kate, the very, very last word is for you.
Okay, well, I'm just going to say Paul has gave me, it's a secret at the moment, but he gave me quite a while ago the title of the next book, which will be for parents. So he will be credited with the title of the book. When it comes out, you'll all know that it was Paul Burross who named this book. And the next one will be for parents, and maybe Caroline would like to collaborate with me on it, and as we get it out there.
All right, great. Well, thank you very much for participating. All the viewers, thank you very much for taking your time out and to spend time with us and viewing us. If you have not yet followed me on Twitch here, please do follow me. The more people follow me here on Twitch, the more likely I am to actually organize meetings like this. Especially if you follow me during this stream, because then I know that this is the stream that caught your interest. And then maybe I might take Orlando's idea to heart and actually organize something like this for parents. Nevertheless, given that Kate is coming in October 5th till 8th in Amsterdam, we still have a couple of months to go, so I might try to see if I can sneak Kate in next month or the month afterwards, because it does seem to be a very valuable and interesting and show where you learn a lot. So thank you all. Thank you, Kate. And well, that's it. We're done for today. Thank you very much. Bye.
Bye.
See you next
Zoom
time.
wave.
See you later.
In fact, next time is in 2 hours.
Oh.
7 p.m. European Standard Time. We are going to continue with the free online ABC NLP practitioner, and we're going to talk about ABC NLP strategies in English. So you're all welcome to participate at 7 or Central European Standard Time. That is really it for me today. Bye. See you.
Bye.
See you later.